Today on Outside the Box Reviews, we are taking a look at the Mezco Attack of the Living Dead Jake figure. Mezco's Attack of the Living Dead line were a bunch of generic zombie figures done in that crazy, cartoony Mezco style. I believe this line actually predates their Cinema of Fear line, and as far as I know, they only ever got out one wave of these figures. I believe there were plans for a second, but even within this first wave, there were a billion different variants. So the Jake I have here might be different than the one you might have if you have this figure, just because I believe there were a total of 4 different variants of this guy, ranging in different skin tones to different head sculpts. But this is the one that I picked up at my local comic shop not too long ago, so let's give it a closer look. One thing I love about Mezco figures from this time are the accessories they come with. Here we get a nice chunk of brain, cool looking gray matter there with a little bit of red over top to give it a bloody effect. Really cool looking. I like this accessory. It's realistic enough to fit in with other characters. If you're trying to do figure photography or something, I guess one of the brains sitting around, but it fits in well enough with the cartoony style as well. Going a little more into the cartoony realm, we have this severed head, a lot of meat work going on here in the back, all torn to shreds, and then has its own brain being squeezed out of its skull. We can even see the cracks in the skull here, the brain being squeezed or pulled out, a nice big bite taken out of it. You can see the bite marks. Similar paint job to the other brain, except we do have some more blood gushing all over it. And the face itself, well, this guy's dead. If you couldn't get that impression from the back of his head, you definitely get it here. His tongue's lolling out of his mouth with blood dripping down the side. His eye's been popped out. He's dead as hell. It really just looks like his face has just been ripped to shreds to get at the chewy brains inside. Now, obviously, those two accessories don't belong together. Are from 2 different victims because they both have brains, but this could be the rest of our little victim there, and it's looking a little worse for wear. We have basically a disembodied torso here. We got a chunk taken out of the spinal column. See all the meat inside here, which looks really nice and glossy. His tattered jeans, which still are really nicely detailed. The belt is good detail on it, good wrinkles throughout. See the knees ripped away. You can see the bone in there. Really cool detail. I almost feel like this needed to be so cartoony just to get away with the level of gore we're getting. You can see the lower part of this leg has been torn away to the bone, but there's still a little bit of lower leg left there and a little bit of the pants just hanging on by a thread, which is gruesome and sick. We do have a bare foot down here with some more meat work. You can see the broken bone in there, and this leg is actually removable, so you can pull it out of its socket and you have the broken bone sticking out of the top, which is just awesome. I love this as a little diorama piece with my zombies. The bottom is very flat to let it sit better on the ground, but I feel like that kind of works. You're never going to position it any other way anyway. It's just going to look good. As I mentioned before, there are different variants to Jake and his head, so this review may not match up with one you have or one you might find, but I love the face sculpt on here. Obviously, I've said it before in other Mezco reviews, there is no attempt for realism in this head sculpt. This is just supposed to be wild and crazy and nasty. We have the one dead eye there. The paint on here is great. We have deep reds or purples around the eye, the sunken in areas. There's different shades of green going throughout its head that just look grotesque and rotting. Even some nice red and black inside of his mouth with his yellow, gnarly teeth. You got like maggots coming out of his eye and the whole front of his head ripped open, exposing the skull. Some more skull there on the side too. Going down the back, we have some exposed spine and blood coming down there, dripping onto his shirt as well, which is very wrinkly. His sleeves are all torn up, exposing his zombified arms. Some more kind of bruising in with that green flesh tone. These big nasty hands here with the big gnarly nails. Looking really cool. I really like these big nasty hands they gave him. Very classic zombie looking. Got some more meat work down around the shredded part of the bottom. Some blood coming out of the side there. Very sunken in lower torso here with more blood coming out. Just a really overall very impressive over the top sculpt. You can see this hip bone come out to the side. His jeans are a little cleaner than I'd like them to be. They do look a little cleaner here on camera too than they are in real life. A lot brighter blue on camera with all the lights on. But very wrinkly, covered in bloody stains all over the place. They're tattered up here at the bottom. We got his knee exposed with some blood coming out. Then he has bare feet. You can see veins popping out on his legs there. Serious grossness going on with the feet and some nasty toenails there. And even the bottom of the feet are detailed. It does still have some copyright info, but it's really hard to see on here. So really you could just admire the detail on his bare feet if you really wanted to. For articulation, he has a ball joint at the neck, so it'll look a little up, a little down, side to side, as well as tilt. His arms are on pin and socket joints joints, so they will go forward and back as well as out to the side. He can swivel at the bicep, right where his shirt is torn away. He has a hinge at the elbow, which will go about 90 degrees. Unfortunately, there is no wrist joint. A cut wrist joint would be great, a ball joint would be excellent, but unfortunately he's kind of always stuck in that classic zombie, arms outstretched, Bela Lugosi and Frankenstein versus the Wolfman look. At his waist, he has a ball joint, so he can go side to side, a little bit hindered by his pants. They can rock forward and back and side to side as well. We have cut joints, kind of a V cut at the crotch, so you can rotate his legs that way. And then we have another cut joint mid-thigh here that'll let you rotate just above the knee. And I think that's it. There might be another joint here where the legs are coming out of the pants. It's not wanting to move freely on either of mine, so I'm not going to force it just in case it's not really supposed to be articulation, but there may potentially be another joint in there. And here's Jake next to another Mezco stylized zombified character, the Jason Goes to Hell, Jason Voorhees from the Mezco Cinema Fear Wave 3, and they look in fair scale with one another, seeing that Jason should be a big guy, and Jake's probably just your average dude turned into a zombie. So this figure actually does work pretty well in scale with other 7-inch tall horror figures. It's really just the style he's done in that's going to make him unique and maybe not fit in with some of your other horror characters on your shelf. And I dig this figure. I think it's just goofy, crazy zombie fun. It's not very well articulated, but considering it's a 2006 figure, what was coming out around the same time wasn't much better articulated than this. It's really just the wrists that bug me. The legs are a little bit of a problem. They just make them a little hard to stand sometimes because of how they're sculpted and articulated. But really, if I could just rotate that wrist and make him look like he was really chomping down on this brain here, I'd be a happy camper. I'm gonna give this figure recommend. Seeing as this is an older piece, it's not something I'd recommend paying a whole lot of money for. I would definitely look for a good deal on it, something akin to a new action figure now. I don't think he's worth big scalp or crazy prices, but you have a horror collection, especially if you like zombies, and you don't have a problem with him being kind of out there in design. It's a fun one to have, and he comes with plenty of cool zombie accessories that really boost up the coolness factor. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, username Outside the Box Reviews. Also check me out on Facebook, link below. And until next time, this has been our Outside the Box Reviews. And when there's no more room in hell, the dead will review action figures on Earth. And here's Jake next to another zombified Mezco figure, the Cinema Fear Wave 3. F*** you, Jason. And here's...